part of the world that I come from, and maybe you've seen it, in your travels, uh, people in South Asia or Asia are never told it's okay to fail. You're always
Mm.
told come first in class, head of the line, etc., etc., and that manifests itself in our behavior patterns. Yet we fail. So my question to you is, what have been your learnings from some of your mistakes?
I think failure is a beautiful opportunity to become humble
Mm,
again. It's a gift in disguise,
mm,
and that's how I would phrase it.
mhm,
Uh, Yet we don't like to fail,
mm.
but it's just yes, as I said, a beautiful opportunity to be humble, have this humility and vulnerability. At the end, it's we all fail, and the whole the whole exercise is to be able to be resilient and use this failure to do something different and
Yeah.
better.
Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a vodcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. If you are new to our podcast, please consider subscribing to it and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. Our episodes go live at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time every day. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I am in conversation with a very, very accomplished individual from Italy, Patricia Bonaert. Patricia is also a YPO, associated with a YPO as a YPO spouse. Patricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Patricia is the co-founder of Expatkit, which she set up to support families in international moves. She's an advisory board member of MixR, a tech for good platform. She's the chair of the LBS, the London Business School platform, which is leaders, entrepreneurs. And very interestingly, she's embarking on a world bike tour with her husband. So, Patricia, let's first talk about Expatkit. Tell me about Expatkit and what made you start a venture like this.
Well, it's 20 years ago when we embarked on our first moving. We went to Bulgaria, leaving Belgium and go to Bulgaria. And I was hearing so many complaints from other expatriate families about the situation, about the country, about the lack of resources, about the education of the children. I mean, many, many different negative opinions about a beautiful country. And I thought to myself, how strange that these people are not taking the opportunity to embrace the whole experience. I did some research and I found out, and also that's what I found out with my husband, that an international assignment is a great opportunity for an evolution in your career.
Mhm.
But the price on the family and on the wife or on the husband, I mean the spouse,
Mhm.
which in this world we call the trading spouse, which is a horrible term, I believe, the price for them to pay is very high.
Right.
Most of the time they cannot work, the family has to adapt to new environments. And the numbers and the statistics say that 80% of failures are because of family problems.
Amazing.
So looking at these numbers, I thought maybe I can do something about it. I looked at a lot of different resources about the topics, how to raise children abroad, what are the difficulties, what are the challenges of going back home after all your postings. And I came with something very innovative.
Mhm.
So producing games and toys to address the emotional ups and downs of families going through these international transitions. So it
Amazing.
was very unique
Mhm.
because we were creating something that was not offered. And I incorporated the business when I met an American journalist later on in my assignments when we arrived in Germany, and then we set up Expatkit as a true product to help families in transition.
I wish you were there when we first went as expats to Singapore in 1989. I'm much older than you, but it was a very, very big challenge. So for my viewers and listeners, Tell me, what are the type of challenges that expat families face?
I see there are two different challenges. First, there are the challenges that are inherent to the family. So the life cycle of the family, the dynamic of the family, how the number of children, the age of children, all that has an importance when you are coming into a new country.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are also the challenges that are external to that family, which is the country in which you arrive. So the health conditions, the security issues, the economic development of that country, all that can have an influence on the family and on their experience.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, it all trickles down to expectations. And the higher the expectations, the more difficult it is to really embrace the experience, because it's never enough. There is always something to complain about. So my job with Expatkit is to meet the expectations or to adapt the expectations to the reality of the country they move to.
Fantastic. And what are your thoughts on culture? I remember when we went to Singapore, we went straight in the middle of Chinese New Year. And we really didn't know how to handle, being invited to places. Or what are your thoughts on adapting to culture?
It can be very overwhelming. So I imagine with arriving there and with all the noise and the colors, and it's kind of an overwhelming feeling. I always believe that embracing the culture is the best way to take profit of the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
It mainly depends on how open the family is to change, how safe they feel about the change, or to learn something new. So it's not that easy for a family to really embark on this adopting the change.
Mm-hmm.
And so probably the best way to handle this is through the lens of a friend, a colleague, a sports team player, doing something with someone from that country, and slowly get at ease with the culture, with the language, with the whole atmosphere, but also the beauty of it, and to get something out of this. Because at the end, what do you do with this whole experience? It's to enrich yourself. That's why it's so beautiful. Then the other thing, which normally very few people talk about, it's equally important to keep your own culture alive. Mm-hmm. and to continue to celebrate religious festivals, birthdays, and to create more traditions in your family.
Very interesting. And one more question for you on culture. I mean, how do children, young children, which means that they may be the teenagers, how do they adapt to new schools and new places? Because they're also just uprooted and taken to a new country.
I've seen dramatic situations and I've seen beautiful situations. I think that a child, it all depends on the age, but imagine a teenager. For him, what's really important is to be completely independent and to start this independence, the way they set up for life, and arriving in a new country, suddenly their wings are cut. So it's very difficult for them to start to be a full teenager and go out and close this with their parents when you arrive in a new country. So Expatkit is also helping them. For younger children, it can be heartbreaking to lose their close friends, because these are the first circles of trust. Mm-hmm. And so leaving a school teacher, leaving their close friends to embark on another country can be very difficult. I have the tendency to explain to parents that they have to see their family just like a boat, and make sure that everyone in the boat is very happy and looking for more destinations with being on that boat, being in a secure place, and an opportunity also to talk about many different feelings that they have, so they can express everything easily and with confidence with their parents and with their siblings.
Amazing. So, I've met so many expat families who, and I divide them into two parts. One are people who every holiday want to go back home. The other are people who say, I'm in Asia, I'm in Europe. Let me discover so many more countries.
Yes.
What is your experience?
Oh, I'm definitely the second one. I think that this is an amazing opportunity to really dig into something that I would normally never do. A holiday is a holiday, but living in a country is an extraordinary opportunity to increase your competence, your cultural competence, and by reaching out, you become better yourself, and you can cross so many cultures. You understand so many attitudes, beliefs. I also think it's a way to to create peace, because by staying close to yourself and your own beliefs, you don't understand the other. By not understanding, you are not listening, and by not listening, you are comforted in your own beliefs, and this at the end creates a big conflicts, and conflicts will lead to war. So to me, cross-cultural competence is also a way to create peace.
Amazing. And one more thought I wanted to ask you for is, again, I have said that travel is the best teacher, culturally, language,
Absolutely.
multiple, do you also help people in planning travel around the countries when
No,
they're...
no, I don't plan travel, but I'm quite resourceful when it comes to a good place to visit, and in the countries where I've been living, and yes, I'm happily giving all my advices and good ideas on things to do and things to discover. Yes.
Terrific. So Patricia, now let's move to your next passion, or the next organization you're involved in, which is MixR.
Yes.
Tell me about this venture.
Oh, that's a very challenging and beautiful one. MixR is a technology platform. It's a technology for good, creating communities in the workspace. So when you look at numbers, it's quite frightening what companies have to deal with. If you look at numbers, and this is a survey that was conducted by Gallup in March 2019, so 2 years ago, before the pandemic started.
Yeah.
And let me take the numbers, because these are, I don't know them by heart, even if I should do. 50% have suffered from burnouts.
Wow.
Which is a cost of $125 billion in healthcare spending per year. And 70% of employees feel disengaged at work. That means that only 30% of the salaries that are paid are well spent. And 26% of your employees, that's the turnover rate. So that means that every 4 years, 100% of your employees have changed. These are, I think the numbers are raising with the pandemic situation, and this is a big problem to fix. The way MixR is fixing this is by allowing communities or people, employees, to connect, to meet, and spend time together around something they care about. So something that is in their passion. Can be a possibility for women in tech to meet, for people who love cooking, for people who would like to bring more sustainability in the company. Whatever they are interested or what they care about, it's an opportunity for them to meet, to connect, and to meet in person. That's really very important. It's not an online platform. It's a platform that is using technology to connect people so they would meet in person and start something from it. So
can you, for our viewers and listeners, can you give me an example of how this happens without giving names?
No. Let's take an example that you will relate to. Let's imagine that you are hiring me in your company. I'm arriving, and there is nothing more obvious than me being a foreigner in your country. Everything sets us apart. The color of the skin, the backgrounds, the attitudes, the way of working, the culture, everything is very different.
Right.
So the situation for me and for most of your employees will be very awkward. I will be, I will not feel at ease at all in your company right at the beginning. They won't know how to address me. They don't know how to work with me. And the whole situation is going to be very awkward for a long time unless I meet someone we can talk about something that we are both passionate about. I love Indian cooking. So imagine that that you are using MixR in your company, and I'm filling in my profile, and in my profile of all my interests, there is Indian cuisine.
Okay.
And now imagine what in all your employees, you have 2 or 3 men or women, doesn't matter, who say, hey, connecting with me, I've seen that you are interested in Indian cuisine. Why don't we meet every Friday afternoon and I show you some interesting recipes, and we start to build a community around that. And then the community over time, it's not in an overnight, it's over time, a community is built. I'm feeling engaged, I'm feeling dedicated to my job, and I will do the best I can to meet more of these people and be enriched by the experience. Now in numbers, it goes even further than that, because all these people feel engaged. There is innovation and creativity that comes into play, and I believe that when creativity, there is innovation, the energy in the company switches, and you start to build a beautiful community which is not depending on departments, silos, and productivity can continue to grow.
Very interesting. So, when I was reading about you, one of the comments that was made about MixR was that trust and belonging improves productivity.
Yes.
Help me understand how this happens.
Yes. Trust is the first building block of any relationship. Absolutely. So without trust, you cannot build anything. And comes with trust, the mutual respect. Once you have these 2 ingredients, people start to open up and start to become themselves, and you create a safe space, which will then allow everyone to belong to that space. And because there is trust, because you created belonging, the diversity becomes inclusion. And because there is inclusion, everyone feels at ease, everyone starts to be very creative, very innovative, and that's how productivity increases.
Amazing. So let me now move on to some other questions for you. You chair the LBS program. Tell me about the program.
So LBS is an executive education program that equips all attendees with tools and best practices to become or to increase or improve their leadership or their entrepreneurial skills. There is a common belief that leaders are the one at the top of their organizations, be it in politics, in their companies, and they have a very loud voice, and we tend to only listen to their voice because they are so loud. I believe that we are in a leadership crisis, and that leadership should be nurtured and encouraged at every level. And this program allows that. Through study cases, we study the protagonists, the reactions through the lens of entrepreneurship and leadership, and we transform or mute or take all these best practices and adapt it to the place where they are involved with, which can be an NGO, it's companies, whatever they do in life. I have the belief that everyone is an entrepreneur because everyone is a problem solver or a solution creator. You don't need necessarily to create a $1 billion company out of it. And everyone is a leader as soon as they know their strengths, the impact they can have, to be conscious about it, be empowered by it, and start to lead. Amazing. That's how I see it. So
amazing. And that's an amazing institution, the London.
Oh, yes. I love to work with them.
Wonderful. So I'm now going to move to something I was fascinated with when, I'm reading about you, that you're preparing for a world bike tour. Tell me what you want to do and how do you prepare for something as big as this?
Well, we probably will have to downsize a little bit our expectations because with the current situation and the pandemics,
Yeah.
I think that's biking out of our city will be already a challenge. So we are reducing a little bit to Europe, which is already something that is big enough to take us busy and to be busy with. A part of the physical challenges, there are also logistic challenges that we are working at. I wouldn't say daily, but we are considering it. But the hardest for me, and probably also for my husband, is to let go, fix a date, stick to that date, and just let go of everything that is not related to that bike. Yes. And there are lots of, the more we are advancing in weeks, the more we are postponing our departure. And we should say no on the 1st of May. There we go. We take our bikes and we go. And then we will take it by the time. We have everything prepared, but you don't need too much. And because we have everything on our bike, so we have to plan accordingly and leave with the minimum.
Well, then I must introduce you to someone I interviewed 2 weeks ago. He did a cycling from the northernmost point of Alaska to the southernmost tip of South America.
Oh, amazing.
20,000 kilometers or something.
Oh, amazing. Yes, that will be very inspiring. Because
I will do an email introduction to you.
Yes, I would love that, because we've been looking at South America like for next trip. So after Europe, that's where we want to go.
Wonderful. So Patricia, I'm now going to move to a few questions for you personally. My first question is that you run 2 businesses. You're involved with the London Business School. You are doing so much and giving back to YPO. What are some of the core values you believe
in? I believe it's a vast question, because there are many values that I'm having. I'm grounded in my values. I think that's already very important to say. The first one is trust, as the first building block, as I've been mentioning already, to create any relationship. Then I think there is integrity. Which is staying true to myself and to my beliefs. Then there is respect, the respect of everything that is different, but also the respect of my words, my commitment to do all what I want to do. Then there is empathy and listening. And I would close this with being at service. I believe that when I'm aligned with all my values, I want to be giving back for a bigger purpose, for something really beautiful, and I'm at service of that vision. So I'm part of the mission to serve a vision. And above all these values, I believe in kindness. I think kindness is extremely important.
How nice.
At any time.
How nice, how nice. And a follow-up question to you then would be that as you look at life, what does success mean to Patricia?
Oh, to me, I think success only comes with fulfillment. And a kind of recognition by my loved ones, but maybe also clients, or a kind of recognition. I think that's important. And success to me, I think every successful venture is fueled with joy and passion.
Okay. And who or what inspires you to keep doing so many interesting things?
I'm inspired by art, by beautiful art in many different ways. So it can be painting, sculptures, but also music, a movie, an interesting book. I'm inspired by people who are using their extraordinary skills or their position to do something meaningful and beautiful or create awareness. And I'm also inspired by my children and their generation. They are forcing me to be at the best of myself so that I can inspire them.
Wonderful.
So that's my response.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. My last question to you, and this is a question on failure.
Okay.
The part of the world that I come from, and maybe you've seen it, in your travels, uh, people in South Asia or Asia are never told it's okay to fail. You're always
Mm.
told come first in class, head of the line, etc., etc. And that manifests itself in our behavior patterns. Yet we fail. So my question to you is, what have been your learnings from some of your mistakes?
I think failure is a beautiful opportunity to become humble again. It's a gift in disguise, and that's how I would phrase it. Yet we don't like to fail, but it's just yes, as I said, a beautiful opportunity to be humble, have this humility and vulnerability. At the end, we all fail, and the whole exercise is to be able to be resilient and use this failure to do something different and better.
Amazing. Patricia, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I've really enjoyed listening to how you're handling two different businesses, Expatkit, MixR. But I'm most fascinated about your cycling tour starting hopefully on the 1st of May. I wish you a very successful cycling tour with lots of safety. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.